I was also brought up as that feminist who thought that we could oppress sex workers. And I was told that there was like conformity feminism. F that.
Now, as a parent myself, I also wonder, how I want to approach my child in the future regarding this, because we cannot just pretend it doesn't exist, and in order to avoid the awkwardness, because that would put them in an even more vulnerable position.
If a young person thinks that sex is violent, we are in trouble. I saw a study in the New York Times. Young people are choking each other because they're seeing it in porn, and they are damaging each other's brains. And let me tell you, BDSM experts, we don't do that. So we might be getting the tag that we're the dangerous ones, but we are the exact opposite. If you want to learn safe, come to an expert.
What role does shame play in your work? Yeah. And how can Kink help transform shame, especially around sexuality, around vulnerability or desire?
Well, right, vulnerability and shame, Brene Brown, speaking of TED Talks. So what I've learned from her is that shame is the human feeling of being kicked out of the club, of the human club. So something's occurred that creates a feeling inside of me that if someone was to find out, I would be kicked out, right? And this is like this basic human instinct that, and so for us as LGBTQ plus people, as queer people, this is a constant thing. We grow up, we realize, I'm actually a homosexual. And then the next feeling, shame. Because if I come out as being attracted to women, I might be rejected from the society. And so Brene Brown, love her. And then you want to be authentically yourself, which means you have to be vulnerable in that you might be kicked out. But you got to be brave enough to say, you know what, I'm going to let the chips fall where they may. And again, as a queer person, as a bisexual, as a pansexual person, that's a rough one. It's really like one fears that their parents will reject them, their boyfriends, their girlfriends will reject them, their schools will, their jobs will reject us. You can't just say to an LGBTQ plus person, be brave. That's not okay. But when we can get to a place inside of ourselves where, first of all, let's be safe with ourselves. Let's be brave with ourselves. Let's at least admit to ourselves, yeah, I'm watching porn with women on women. I get to admit to myself that I'm attracted to women. And before we go out and be vulnerable. But that's what that is. I'm afraid that I'm going to be kicked out. To be vulnerable means I'm going to face that fear, put it out on the table, and let happen what's going to happen, because my life is going to be better when I'm attracting the people who accept the fact that I'm bisexual, pansexual, queer, kinky, dominatrix. But then when we do this with sex and kink and BDSM, again, it goes back to we're healthier, we're happier, and we're more free. And so first ourselves, then others, and then come out here and find community. Because I'm going to tell you, the BDSM community, especially the queer BDSM community, is fun, and loving, and so caring. Because we are constantly having exactly this conversation all day, every day. What's trauma? What's pain? What's consent? What's negotiation? And we're always living our lives like this. And that's one of the reasons why I love it.
It just came to my mind when you said that, when women can allow themselves to be, let's say, dominant and bossy, but at the same time, they can equally perhaps choose to be submissive, not from a place of being imposed on, but from a place where they allow themselves to be, or they choose to be, because they consciously know that this is what gives them pleasure.
Switches, that's kind of what you're saying too, people who switch are also totally valid. So someday a person might want to be submissive in the bedroom, and then the next day they want to be dominant in the bedroom. They want to be dominant at work and submissive at home. Nicole Kidman in Baby Girl, she's dominant at work, and then she meets a guy who brings out her submissive side, and she's like super excited, and it's super fun for her. So, it doesn't have to be any kind of fixed. And that's another thing I would love for all of us to give ourselves a little bit more grace and room and generosity towards ourselves. You might be attracted to men this year and attracted to women next year, and then attracted to trans people and then not attracted at all. Go for it.
You've written about the thrill of humiliation.
Yes.
In play. And how do you distinguish between harmful shame and liberating shame?
Yeah, it's play. So this is a real tough one. Because so much of our society, again, is messing around with humiliation and not in a healthy way. So a lot of people are experiencing being bullied, and that's not healthy, or being, bullied, really, told what to do, but you don't want to be told that way, but you're succumbing because of the person has power or whatever. It's so twisted. It's play, it's consensual, it's agreed upon. So I don't ever comment on someone's body in humiliation until they specifically ask for it and it's in a scene. I'm not outside of the scene ever gonna say anything about someone's body. I don't want anyone talking about my body. I'm not gonna do it to someone else. So we negotiate it. It's in a scene. They want to be humiliated around, a lot of times it's around their gender, a lot of times it's around what they look like, how they want to dress, and a lot of times it's around gender bending. There will be a beginning, middle, and end, and it will stay in that box and it won't come out. For me, that's how I stay healthy in giving someone humiliation. Because I am very careful with my words, I'm very careful with my thoughts and my deeds, and I think that humiliation is cruel. So I'm only gonna be cruel in that space, and I'm gonna try never to be cruel outside of it. I had a scene where a submissive man wanted to be humiliated, that he could never have me, that the only way he could be with me is as my slave. So he wanted me to talk like that to him. You're a bad guy, you can never have me. Look at me now, I'm gorgeous, you're not worthy of me. It's a scene, begin, minute, and done.
So it's a play, and again, it connects to the safe space for both sides, where they can express themselves while at the same time maintain like the limit.
Yeah, exactly. And, I'm not identifying with the person who likes to be an emotional sadist in humiliation, but it's also a safe place for them, right? Because they probably don't want to be out in society insulting and bullying and manipulating people, right, but they could do it in a scene and have a lot of fun with it. Right. I don't do humiliation as my kink, but I do manipulation as my kink. I see. Two different things.
How are they different?
Well, for me, again, it's around putting someone down is not fun for me. It's not my turn on. Telling someone what to do and how to do it and giving them rewards and punishments is my turn on. Yeah.
Right. You really have to think about these things to make a very clear distinguishment, yes, like what is what, where it starts and where it ends. Yeah.
And again, that's why talking to experts and engaging experts and taking classes and reading books is really great, because then you can get more in touch with what all that is.
In my generation, we do not have sex education.
Yeah, I barely did in my generation.
We're just obliged to figure out so many things on our own. And it's not actually that easy to find someone who are from experienced a position to tell you what this means, what that means, how it is connected to our psychology, to our trauma, to our energy. And it does make sense, how all these things are interconnected with each other.
Absolutely, yes. And just to say, Zossie Easton, the author of The Ethical Slut, Esther Perel, Make Love Not Porn with Cindy Gallup, and of course, hire your local sex worker, because we know a lot about sex.
How do you define the difference between sex workers and prostitutes? Because when we talk about sex workers, like automatically we think of like prostitution, right?
Yes. Right. So there's a huge range, right? So you have people who sell different sex acts. You have strippers, dancers, happy ending massage therapists, dominatrixes. There's a huge range. And I want to identify with other sex workers because I want to be in solidarity. Even if my work actually doesn't usually include sex, it's usually play or manipulation, or because we are all being marginalized in a society that has pushed us aside, that says that our value is less, and there's very few appropriate structures for a good, healthy work relationship when you're a sex worker. So I want to make sure that we're all in it together, from the person who's walking the street and selling oral sex to the high class escorts. We're all in it together, and we need a society that stops making this illegal, because what happens then is that we get into a judicial system which is also oppressive. I don't think it should be illegal for a person to give me 450 euros to spank them. I don't think that should be illegal. And I don't think it should be illegal that they pay to get a blowjob or pay to get an orgasm. It should be structured. It should be a workplace. It should have standards, and it should have safety. And I just want to be very clear that I'm in solidarity with everyone. And I want sex workers to tell the rest of the world what should be done. So to me, there's no line. We're all in it together. I see. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that explanation. Yeah.
And the women in the red light, I consider them my siblings.
Yeah. That's very empowering.
In power. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And I do really think that when people are beginning, that there is absolutely nothing wrong with hiring a professional to help show you the way safely. Because what a professional can do is come in and give you the teaching, give you the experience, exit while you're on this path to discovery. It's very different when you're in a relationship and you're trying to express something, because you might lose the relationship. And so I work with couples who deal with this.
Yes.
And in an ideal situation, when one person realizes that they will have more sexual or kink gratification in a kink dynamic, if the other partner doesn't want to go down that road, hopefully the other partner is open and loving and can say, you know what, I would love for you to experience the pleasure that you want safely, and go and hire a dominatrix so that it can be done safely, discreetly, and powerfully. And then the person gets the experience and they come back happier. Yeah. And that's kind of my ideal for all of that. That's not always going to work out that way. But I see a lot of pain in relationships when people are not getting fulfilled. And I do believe that the body needs fulfillment. And I also think it's really hard to get it with one person. And so, I don't know a lot of long-term monogamous fulfilled dynamics. And it doesn't even have to be polyamory or stepping out. It could just be a little bit of fun now and then. It doesn't have to be always and forever, but I do think that we have desires and it's great to get them met and then we can come back happier. Yeah. We don't want to resent our partners.
No, we don't. And so that leads to my question is that why is pleasure itself, especially unapologetic, embodied pleasure, so radical in today's world?
I think we still have such a long way to go to even accepting equality, right? So somehow we put a man's pleasure on a pedestal. 50 Shades of Grey, the biggest blockbuster series ever. It's all about his pleasure. We've put him on this pedestal, and that we haven't even achieved fundamental equality for women. And of course, everyone who's non-binary and trans, we're not even talking about them. So we got to achieve equality. We've got to say that we're all equal and that pleasure matters. And I guess it's radical that I think that way and feel that way. And then I am specifically being a bit extreme because I want to be a counterbalance to those oppressive forces. I want people to see me and say, oh my goddess, I didn't even know a woman could live like that. That she could be educated, that she could be liberated, that she could be a feminist, that she could be having as much sex as she wants. So I want to be this radical vision so that you can see it and help swing that pendulum. But I think we're still very oppressed. I think that we're in a lot of pain. I am very fearful of the rise of techno-fascism. And I want to see a different world. I want to see a world where we're all equal. So I'll talk about female supremacy, but what I'm really talking about is like, let's get to the next level.
You've said that not all things are about healing. Sometimes it's just about sexy fun.
I link pleasure and joy very closely. Right. And I think that these experiences and these emotional experiences are the highest level of being in a human body. That pleasure and joy makes life more fun. Again, I think that limiting pleasure is a tool of oppression. Yeah. And we're keeping women down. The orgasm gap, you know about the orgasm gap? Apparently, lesbians, women to women sexuality, have like 100 times more orgasms than men and women together. The women have less orgasms. There's an orgasm gap. He's getting $1 at work, you're getting 69 cents. He's getting 100 orgasms, you're getting 5. But I don't know about you, but I was socialized that his orgasm was important and not mine. I was told to fake it. That movie, When Harry Met Sally, she's faking it. And she's teaching all the women who are watching how to fake it. Stop. That's sex negativity. Look, hey, you gotta fake your orgasm, fine. Fake it till you make it, fine. Again, I'm not trying to like kink shame or put anyone down. I'm just trying to show the contrast between myself with my submissives. He doesn't get to orgasm until I've orgasmed. Boom, power change, power shift.
Why is the lesbian couples having more orgasm than straight couples?
Because I think, and in my experience of being a lesbian, is that we know our bodies. Yeah. And men have not been taught, where's the clitoris? And at least I know where mine is because I know my body. Right. So it's highly likely that I'll find it in another person who has a vulva. Right. And, hopefully then we create safe space where we can communicate together. But that's what I interpret is happening, is that people with penises are so focused on their own orgasm. And then we're in a society that says to the women to fake it. So a lot of guys don't even know that the women are faking it. And so they're like, where's the clitoris? I don't know. And then the girl's like, oh, that was so great. And then she's like, oh my, could it be because the man I'm with, who I love and adore and is wonderful, I've never told him how to give me an orgasm.
Right. Which shouldn't be the case. It should be normalized to talk about these things and not to feel bad and shamed about it. It's something that we should do when we are in a partnership with our partners, to feel free and open to talk about our fantasies. Because if you are willing to be naked with each other, you should also be able to verbally communicating these things.
I would love that for everyone. And when we're getting naked, let's also talk about safety and safe sex and condoms and protection and all the things, because bodies are human and like bodies are amazing and we want to give each other pleasure. And yeah, I would love for all of us just to be talking a lot more.
Right. And somehow, I think that now it is more and more okay, of course, to talk about the safety of sex safety. Right. We talk about precautions, condoms, all these things, and for the benefit of health. However, there's still left out a huge empty space where people don't feel free to talk about their sexual fantasies. And that somehow, it creates this kind of like oppression to freely express themselves, not just protect themselves, but to express themselves.
Yes. Yeah, and then I think a lot of people come to me and they say that they're afraid of how their partner will respond. Mm-hmm. And I think that this goes back to this old school concept that you kind of like own your partner. And that by expressing jealousy, somehow that shows that you care. And to me, I don't like any of that. I want my partner to say, I have this fantasy. Mm-hmm. It might not land on me that easily. Like, for example, I'm a cisgender woman. I don't have a penis. If my partner says that they have a fantasy about someone with a penis, I might feel jealous. Mm-hmm. Because I can't give that to them. So it might land on me a little bit tough, but it's their fantasy and it's their sexuality. And, maybe after I get over that kind of initial jealousy and initial insecurity, I might say, well, you know what? That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. I love that you feel safe. How might we fulfill this together?
Right.
And then the next thing I know, I'm in a threesome with a person and I'm having the time of my life. That has happened. And then we have the threesome and everybody has a great time and we do aftercare and we take care of each other. And then our relationship's even stronger.
Because that somehow the open up creates a stronger connection between you two, because both feels that they can be free to talk about themselves with each other.
Right, and we can evolve together. Yeah. And then we play together and then we're closer together. Yeah. And because we discussed it and we had rules and we honored them and we honored each other's boundaries and we honored the person that we were playing with and honored their boundaries and we let them go with love. Right. I might be living in a little bit of a different society.
Yeah, very particular community.
Right. And among gays, and I consider myself also gay, like among us, casual sex and casual play is a lot more welcomed than it is, I think, in the heterosexual society. So we might be able to be a bit more casual because it's more part of our culture than it is.
I see.
Yeah.
And I have also heard about this, let's say, prejudice against homosexual people, that about their, let's say, casual sex. Not that straight people are not practicing casual sex.
Lots of straight people having casual sex.
But somehow casual sex becomes something that we use to attack homosexual group. while straight people are not being really criticized. I mean,
Well, straight women are.
Yeah, that's right. Women definitely are.
The straight guy's the stud.
Yeah.
He's a stud. Like, that's even considered like a compliment. Whereas,
Women's a slut.
and then we're not allowed to want sex or ask for it or enjoy it. Oh, la, 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 la. Yeah, no, I think that stigma really hurt us during the beginning of HIV/AIDS, that this idea that homosexual men were immoral for desiring casual sex really hurt us. And I say us because I'm part of the LGBTQ plus family, and it's really awful and painful the way that these concepts of how I'm supposed to express my sexuality are used against me to keep me down. And again, that's one of the reasons why I want to be so out and why I accepted the invitation to do the TED Talk, even though it puts me in the public in a way that I haven't been so public as a dominatrix. But I want to do it because I want to show the world that my sexuality is something I am proud of. And I am proudly in solidarity with all other sex workers, and that I am proud to come and say to you and anyone else, like, great sex, great communication, great kink, great gender expression. Let's go.
Yeah, thank you for your honesty, because I also want to say that there's a transformation for me as well, in the sense that I also used to view homosexuality, sex workers, and kink as something bizarre, because I was raised in this kind of cultural environment where these things are just not celebrated or even allowed. Yeah. I think for me, the turning point was that I started looking at it as a very individual thing. What other people are doing with their sexuality really has nothing to do with me, you know? They are not forcing that on me. They are not making me to do the same thing as them. They are simply asking for the space to do what they want, to be who they are. What they are asking is not more than what I am asking. Suddenly that just becomes very natural, okay? I do what I want, so why they are not allowed to do what they want, or they are not free to do what they want, right?
Yeah, it's a really valid question, and I would love everyone who's watching and listening, why suppress someone's sexuality or their kink or their gender? I would also want to put gender in there. There's nothing to do with you. It's their own. And I would also, I think it's really important that we look at the ways that we are socialized. I grew up in the United States of America, which is a racist country. And so I was socialized as a racist. Now that I understand that, it's up to me to do the decolonizing work inside of myself and to do the anti-racism work inside of myself and to liberate inside of myself so that I can help others. And I learned that from the civil rights movement in the United States, where I was blessed to have the opportunity to learn from those who walked the path before me and from Martin Luther King Jr., from his teachings, so that I can learn how to be an anti-racist and so that I can stand up for others. And it is, to me, of course, race and gender and sexuality are different things, but the idea that we're being oppressed in our way of thinking. So I want to question why do colonizers think that they're better and can do what they're doing? So why do people of one sexuality think that they're better and can do what they're doing? No. We're all humans. We're all amazing. And so I'm able to, and then see the intersectionality. That's what I want to say, is that I see the intersectionality of our gender liberation along with our racial liberation. That these, to me, they're intersectional. We rise our boats together, and it's really important that we examine inside of each one of ourselves. Where am I oppressing other?
This intersection, as you say, is actually around this kind of solidarity of a resistance against oppression. Different groups of people can be oppressed for different reasons.
Yes.
Some because of their skin color, some because of their gender, some because of their sexuality. And regardless of the reasons, it's oppression in essence. It's the same kind of oppression, and people should feel free and allowed to resist against oppression against them. And it's that kind of resistance creates this solidarity that we can see, among different communities.
So it used to be in the United States that there was a division, it's called segregation, between where people could use the bathroom. Mm-hmm. And here we are, 2025, talking about who gets to use what bathroom. And I would love to say to everyone, do you not see the connection between what white people used to do with people of color and now what we're doing with transgender individuals in our own capital? I'm against it. I don't think that anybody should be told what bathroom they can use. I think that people who perpetrate violence are the problem. I don't think it's my gender that's the problem. And trust me, where do I want to go? I feel safer in the gay club, and I feel safer with the queers than with straight men. I mean, the people who have perpetrated violence against me were not gay.
Right.
And so we're getting it really confused. And I thank you for your solidarity, and I thank you for the opportunity and the feminism. I was also brought up as that feminist who thought that we could oppress sex workers. And I was told that there was like conformity feminism. Mm-hmm. F that. When we talk about feminism, we need Black trans women leading the call because they know best how to create an equal society. Mm-hmm. And what's happening is that the marginalization of transgender people, people of color, and sex workers is the opposite of what we need to achieve feminism. So this idea that there's like a respectability feminist. No. Wrong. Stop the TERFs, stop the SWERFs. When we ignore the marginalization and the pain of what these groups of people are going through, we will not achieve equality. Feminists must be led, in my opinion, by sex workers and trans women. And that's how we learn to achieve equality. So I'm a cisgender woman. I gotta be listening to others because it's those who have been harmed the most who will have the best solutions. And it's incredibly important for me. Any woman who considers, or anyone who considers himself a feminist, but not for sex workers and not for transgender women, I would love to talk with you further about why that exclusionary concept is just not going to lead us down the road that we need to be led to, of full equality.
Yeah. Mm. Feminism in the end is about inclusiveness of women in an equal position to men. And if we're talking about inclusion, then why we're practicing inclusion with an exclusion of certain groups just because we ourselves might not identify as they?
It's oppression. Again, it's oppression. So when it comes at the sex worker, when a feminist says we're going to stop sex work and we're going to make it illegal because it's bad, you're telling me how to make money? No. Stop telling people how to make money. This is a capitalist society. People go into sex work when they're young because they're trying to make ends meet. and you're gonna tell them oh, you can't make ends meet? How is that feminist? What's feminist is when we say, hold on a second, yeah, there's something going on with sex work. It's called marginalization and it's called violence. Let's fix that. But don't tell me how to make $1. Because I still got to put a roof over my head.
I think that may come to the point where we put women in a vulnerable situation in a society, which we are. And because we don't have the equal opportunities to explore different means of make a living as men, so somehow it feels natural to make the connection between sex workers of being this vulnerable group that had no other means to fulfill their lives but using their body as a commodity to make a living. And what is your response to this?
Because I've worked in workers' rights. So a person who collects garbage, that is a grueling job, okay? That is a difficult, horrible, not horrible, it's a job. It's a back-breaking job. That's what I really meant. That the risk to your person when you are hauling garbage, it's a back-breaking job. It's 99% men and they make a living. So a person who has, for whatever reason, first of all, it's nobody's business what reason you went into sex work. You needed a job. A job is a job. So I don't care what your intent is. If you're an adult and you're trying to make money, you're making money. So it's back-breaking work. So tell me how it's different than the Starbucks worker who's on their feet for 8 hours, the Amazon delivery person who's on their feet for 8 hours, the warehouse worker, the meat packer. You know about meat packing jobs? Those are some of the most grueling and dangerous jobs in the world. But somehow, when somebody gets hurt there, we fix it and we go back to meat packing. But when a sex worker is hurt, well, that's her darn fault. What? Come now. Or they say, we're worried about the people who are trafficked. Well, then don't make our industry more dangerous, make it less dangerous so that the people who are experiencing that type of oppression can come forward, right? This is how we started unions in America. We were doing grueling work. It was dangerous. We were being exploited. We got together. We started a union. We demanded better wages. We got the weekends, but not for sex workers? Not okay with me. We need to see ourselves in solidarity. I'm not saying that the sex work industry is perfect. I'm not saying that there aren't people being exploited. I'm not saying that there isn't child labor stuff happening. Child labor stuff is happening in all industries. So ignoring it or pretending that it's different just makes us more vulnerable. Number one, stop criminalizing sex workers. I know people who got arrest records when they were young, when they were doing this work, and that arrest record makes it so terribly difficult for her to go out and get another job. So now you've put her back on the street. So she was on the street, she was making jobs happen, she gets arrested, she gets a record. Maybe she's gone to school in that time and she's trying to get a different job, but now she can't. Who does that help? Who does it help? And feminists, if you don't see how that hurts you and how that whole spectrum hurts us. So I think we need to look at these things, and it's really difficult and it's really complex, and it's hard, and we have to overcome so much societal programming. I myself am not perfect. There are some times when I find myself kink shaming, or when I have my own internalized homophobia. I'm not perfect, but I am on a path to helping liberate myself and others. Yeah.
There's this misconception around exploitation and the nature of the work.
Yes, both. Yes, thank you. Because the nature of the work too. And then there's this whole other concept that we don't like the work.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, a lot of the people I know love the work. Yeah. It's fun.
There are people who deliberately choose this line of work. There are people who did it because maybe they don't find other means. Now that you mentioned it, helped me to look at it in a different light, which is that maybe also nobody likes picking up garbage or cleaning up public bathroom. But this is the work they have to do, and they picked it, and nobody seems to criticize them.
Men's work, even though it's backbreaking, construction, plumbing, picking up the garbage, that's backbreaking work. Somehow that's moral, right? And also much higher paid. So the women's careers, which are also backbreaking, teaching, nursing, teaching a class of 30 children is backbreaking work. Nursing, backbreaking work. Social work, caring for our elders, house cleaning, sex work, backbreaking work. But somehow sex work, somehow we're not allowed to have bank accounts. We're not allowed to have common safety. We're not allowed to have contracts. Come on. That puts us in such a vulnerable position.
It almost sounds like exploitation, socially accepted exploitation.
Thank you, Lee. Socially accepted exploitation because of sex, which is, again, a fundamental human need. I need to eat, I need to sleep, I need to have sex. So a fundamental human need, but somehow when I help people meet that need, I'm allowed to be abused and exploited? Right. So again, that's why you see Amsterdomme here today, because I'm here to show you that the complete opposite can be true. The complete opposite can be true, that you can be a fully fulfilled human being by getting paid to beat up other people.
How does this work of yours challenge the traditional ideas about femininity and dominance, and what myths are you actively dismantling through your role as a dominatrix?
Yeah, I mean, I love this question around like my femininity, because I think I embody femininity in the way that I look, and then as a dominatrix, I am the caregiver. So again, like the dominatrix is looked at as like the man eater or the succubus, but actually I'm the nurturer. I'm the one who's creating a safe scene. I'm the one who's creating a space for a person to express themselves. I'm the person who's giving them a space to maybe fulfill their sexual identity or their gender identity or this like fun play. All of that is nurturing, which I think is femininity. So I like the twisting it on its head. I personally do love to play as the man. Okay, I love a huge motorcycle, which I think is like the biggest strap-on that any woman can wear. You know, 800 pounds of heavy metal. I love the leather. I do love strap-ons. I do love all of that type of play. I do love the gender bending play, and where the guy is the princess and the pretty one, and I'm the tough one, and I'm the boss. I love it. It gives me an opportunity to just be a part of myself that is very punk. You know, society says I'm supposed to be pretty and coy and pleasing, and I am the exact opposite in these scenes. I am loud, pushy, aggressive, pleasure-seeking, almost violent. Like I'm very physical. I'm big. You can tell I work out. I'm like, I see myself, this is cute. When we go to the gay clubs and the LGBTQ, I identify more with the guys, with the bears and the daddies and the big guys. I don't identify with like the ones who are more effeminate and more pretty and more like stylish. I see myself like the leather daddy. So I'm both, and all of it all together. And also I think the dominatrix, the femdom, is a hyper feminine. I do I do see that I am portraying myself as hyper feminine, and that the imagery that you see of me is very feminine, and I like that too. Yeah. I just like it all. But I think again, let's mix it up a little bit. Let's like throw it all in there, see what comes up, be comfortable with who you are. Stop playing with these very traditional concepts of male, female, and start breaking loose of that, because it's a lot more fun.
Each one of us is like a unique cocktail that is, mixed with different kind of things and a different portion of different traits. Like, you get to decide what is your femininity. And some of your traits may be consistent with social standards, but some other parts may not fit that. And it should also be okay. And we should all be able to choose how we want to form and manifest, express our character traits.
I would love that for all of us.
Yeah. And I don't believe that there's only one type of femininity or one type of masculinity. And once we go into this kind of direction, it can be extremely toxic, because we see both women and men are suffering from toxic masculinity. And I think if toxic masculinity exists, there definitely is also a toxic femininity.
Oh, absolutely. We didn't even talk about that. And I want to bring all those people along as well. And I think that toxic femininity is when we tell women that when women tell women how we're supposed to be, versus us liberating each other. Right? And I think that toxic femininity, what you look like, what you say, stop, please stop. It hurt me a lot as a young person.
How do you see this kink culture aligning with the feminist ideas? I know you touched upon that, but particularly when it comes to consent, embodiment, and autonomy, how does kink align with feminist ideology?
Yeah. Well, let me first say, is my understanding of feminist ideology is that when we celebrate what's wonderful about the feminine, I think that that's the best of feminist ideology, to say that yes, there are differences, and the aspects of feminine, for example, the ability to give birth, is something we should celebrate and uplift and put higher in society. So that's my idea of what feminism is. And so that fully aligns with allowing your sexuality and your kink and your fetish to be celebrated. And that those aspects of body, of embodiment, are also really awesome. And so, but all of that deserves a wonderful celebration. And it's the aspect of that toxicity that's oppressed it. That's the problem. Kink is a way to find out who we really are. Kink is a way to embody our awesome as women. Let's celebrate it. Let's lift it up. Let's, alongside feminism. I would hope that feminism is also about body liberation. And that's what kink is about.
What do you wish more feminists or progressives understood about kink, dominance, and submission?
I would like all feminists to get liberated around sexuality and understand that kink and BDSM is a part of it. And by embodying and presenting as a dominant femme, I hope that they see themselves in me and say, oh, wow, yeah, we know Amsterdomme. She's out there making talk. She's got a book. She's one of us. And she's a dominant, and she's pushing men around, and she's getting paid for it. So in this way that I hope that I can help shake them up a little bit I'm here and I'm being included, thank you. And I want to be included in these circles. And then I want to bring more trans women and more sex workers into our circles, because those folks are the folks who are going to lead us towards our ultimate solutions for these problems, because they're the ones dealing with them day in and day out. And the problem being toxic masculinity and patriarchy and fascism, to be clear.
We talked about feminism, and I want to talk about age, agency, and intimacy because you wrote this interesting article called The Later Dater, where you wrote about being desired beyond youth. And how does your work challenge ageist narratives about sexuality and pleasure?
Oh, I love this one. Age play, by the way, also really awesome, as long as everyone is an adult over 18. Age play is a huge kink, like calling someone daddy or mommy or baby girl or baby boy. This is a huge kink spectrum. And again, as long as everyone's over 18 and consenting and this is healthy, awesome, go for it. And so I don't want to say my age. If you look at me long enough, not just what I look like, but if you look at my bio long enough, you'll start to put it together that I'm not in my 20s. I'm not in my 30s. And so I do consider myself a bit of a later dater and and also I recently saw a study around digital intimacy, and I am definitely on the older side of the spectrum of who is doing this work. So I am actually in this like niche now of being in the older group. It's the vast majority of the people in sex work and digital sex work are in their 20s, and I am not. So that this aspect of being able to claim my power at this point in my life and then find there's this huge group of people who are so into it, because I was told that I was only sexy in my 20s. Again, a society that, or even a teenager, which again, if you're over 18, it's a different story, but that like being in your 20s is what's hot. And, you know, as a woman ages and goddess forbid she has menopause or a child, I didn't even think about that. There's a whole thing about how women are not sexy, and now there's like MILFs. I'm a GILF goddess. Goddess I'd like to. So there's MILFs, and now there's GILFs, and then there's G-MILFs, and then there's DILFs, and then there's, oh my gosh, everyone, we all have human bodies. We're all on the planet. Like, and we're only here for a short time. Why are we hurting ourselves around age? I'm in a group of meditators, and we ask each other questions all the time and manifesting. They're a group of people who are manifesting. And all the time, the women are saying, I'm in my 30s, I'm in my 40s, I haven't met the one, I'm really worried, am I gonna meet the one? And I'm over here to be like, yes, 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 you can meet the one, you can get put on a pedestal, you can change all of that for yourself. You are hot as you are, there is someone for you as you are. I'm a living embodiment of it. At any age, you can get what you want. We gotta love ourselves. And we're told that we're put out to pasture, literally told put out to pasture. First of all, we're like cows and we're milk and we're giving the milk away for free. And they're like, come stop. I'm not a cow. I am a human being. I'm a gorgeous, wonderful human being. And you can attract anything you want at any time when I change myself, when I'm more confident in myself. So yeah, I wrote about that because I was so excited to see Netflix did a show of people dating in their 60s. A lot of the men who are attracted to me are in their 60s, and I am so happy to find them attractive, have fun with them, have a great time with them, date them. It's wonderful to be at this place in life. It's been wonderful at every age, but I'm loving myself more and more.
Because of my upbringing culture, where in Asia, beauty is so closely connected to youth.
Yes.
You know, if you look at our entertainment industry, the most famous or popular actresses are always the ones who are young in their 20s or 30s. And after that, they kind of like fade away. And then a new bunch of younger actresses, again in their 20s and 30s, are becoming the popular ones. And somehow I wouldn't say that it creates, but it definitely reflects this kind of culture where beauty is only limited to a certain age group. So it's really inspiring when I read this essay that you are targeting this agency and intimacy and sexuality.
Yeah, and I'm like super, I mean, I laugh about it, but it is a really serious topic. But I laugh about it because like Bridget Jones, she was just dating a young guy in the last movie. Cher is dating a young guy. Madonna is dating a young guy. Brigitte Macron. And of course, like we're also attractive to young people. That's the thing that's been really fun and surprising for me. A lot of younger people are like, yes, experienced woman who knows what she wants. And so that's a lot of fun. And that was, no one ever told me that I could have that. But I really want us to stop this youth and desire. Also, I don't know about y'all, but I didn't really learn how to orgasm until I was much older, into my 20s. So I wasn't having fulfilling sexual intimacy until later.
Yeah.
So the idea that I was sexy, but I wasn't even having fulfilling sexual intimacy.
Yeah.
So how sexy can you really be? I think you get really sexy when you're fulfilled.
Yeah. And it's true also that people need time to grow and discover themselves, to understand who they are, what are their habits, preferences, pleasures, and all these are not clear to many when we are in our younger days.
Yeah, we have to learn how to stop lying to ourselves.
Yeah.
Which I wish we had more classes about that as well. Because I think our society tells us we're supposed to be away, and then we lie to ourselves. And little white lies, little fibs, or big ones not come out of the closet. And it hurts us. It hurts us all.
Yeah. How do your clients' relationships to consent, desire, agency, as we talk, vary across different cultural and generational backgrounds?
So one thing I would say to anyone who's doing kind of like social work or therapy or sex work, you have to be really in touch with yourself so that you can quickly get in touch with the other, because varying ages, they approach me in very different ways. There are the people who are just, I would say, like when they're older, they're much more respectful, much more, they're much more like submissive in general, because maybe they've figured out how to be submissive at that point, and they're like truly submissive, which I love. Because there's also the guy who's kinky, but not submissive. He's a masochist. That's a whole different thing than being a submissive. So, I mean, I'm just seeing it all different ways, all different spaces. And so what's important for me is to kind of not be a blank slate, because I'm a dominatrix and I'm putting a dom character forward, but to allow the character of me as a dom to be the one that everyone's interacting with, and for me to try not to be prejudiced about who that person is before they're entering a space with me. So I might see a picture of them, I might know their age, I might know their name, I might know their ethnic background, but really to try and like not allow that to impact my mind about who they are, and let them just be who they are, which is like a whole other reason to be with me, because I don't think a lot of society allows us to be who we are. But I did emigrate from the United States to Amsterdam. I left a place where sex work was predominantly illegal and criminalized to a country where it is legal. And I see a huge difference in the culture. It feels so much safer to be in the Netherlands and Austria and Germany, where these aspects of my kink and my sexuality and sometimes sex work is much more accepted and is much more legalized. So there is cultural differences. And then to go back to the concept of, I think playing into these ideals, it's a beauty tax. So once I started to understand, and again, in feminism, that I had a beauty tax. So I'm gonna color my hair, I'm gonna wear makeup, the nails, you know, not just being fit, because that's a whole thing. But now I charge men to put on the makeup. I charge men if they want me to wear a dress. I charge them for it. If you look, I mean, you see what I'm wearing right now. I'm wearing a t-shirt and I'm chilling. This is me. Put on a little makeup because there's a camera. But if you want the version in the latex and the high heels and I'm in pain, physical pain because of what I'm wearing, you are paying for it. Women of the world, we have a tax on us. We're spending all this money on makeup all this time, straightening the hair, shaving, makeup, all that. It is a beauty tax. I would make your men pay for it. I mean, so we were talking the other day. Let me throw an idea at you. So women who are dating now, let's say 30s, 40s, we know what we want. We know what we like. We're on the apps. So what about making a guy put down a deposit for the date? Because a lot of times guys ghost. You heard about this, where you set a date and then they don't show up. So in the process of setting the date, I then have to spend 30 minutes straightening my hair, 30 minutes on my makeup. So I have spent an hour getting ready, and then I'm getting myself to the restaurant, and then he didn't show up. I think he should put a deposit down and pay me for that hour of getting prepped.
But then the other question comes to me is that perhaps some women would also ghost on men.
I guess they do. I guess I don't know them. You're absolutely right. I forgot that women ghost. Don't be rude, people. You're right.
Probably it would be fair that both sides should put a deposit, and those who don't show up lose the money.
You're totally right. I didn't see it that way. You're more of an egalitarian than I am. I forget that men complain about taking care of women. I forget that part because I haven't lived in that society for a very long time. I live in this society where men are begging to take care of me.
And also, I think there is some like cultural differences, which I noticed. In North America, in Asia, and in Europe, the dynamics change. Like, for example, here in Europe, it's much less common. I wouldn't say it's much less expected, but it's actually less common that men are just expected to pay for women.
I've heard about
in the
that.
dating culture. While in Asian culture, and I think also in American culture, it is more common and accepted that that men are supposed to pay for the dates. But it's less common so in Europe.
Yes, I've heard about that. So I live in the Netherlands, and it's called Going Dutch, which I read somewhere. Came from the post-war era when nobody had money. And so the idea was that if we're gonna go out to do something nice and fancy, let's both split it. Let's go Dutch. It's a tough time in the economy. You're gonna bring $1, I'm gonna bring $1, we'll get $2 worth of ice cream. But that's not the society I live in now. The society I live in now, men are making $1 and I'm making 69 cents for the same job. And so I'm not living in an equal society, so why am I going Dutch? So if you wanna be equal, let's talk about how much money you make and how much money I make, and then we can make the date proportionate to that. And again, this is actually a liberating concept. Why are we not talking more about money when we go on dates? Why are we not talking more about how people make money in general? that's all behind like we're now getting new laws that salaries need to be posted and people can talk about their salaries in negotiations. It was like, people were allowed to keep that hidden, and let's just have an honest conversation. How much money are you making? How much money am I making? What can we afford to do on this date? Because the expectation, I think it could be quite toxic for the man that he always has to pay. But what if he's making his way through school? I think power and money and sexuality and gender are all of those topics that should come out very early in a relationship. We should try to be as honest as we can with each other so that we can achieve together. Like, isn't that the ideal of a relationship?
In your line of work, what are some of the emotional or mental challenges of doing it professionally? We experience the emotional and mental challenges, regardless of the nature of the work. So, what is your experience and what keeps you grounded?
This one's a tough one because the part of how I attract people to support my lifestyle is that it's glamorous, it's luxurious, it's sexy, it's beautiful. At the same time, people who need a professional, a lot of times they're blocked because they are experiencing shame, they are in pain, they don't accept themselves. And so in that way, I can see being a pro-dom and being a therapist as being very similar. And sometimes when you're a therapist, you don't maybe like the person who's coming for help. And in the same way for me, sometimes the people who are with me are so blocked, it's hard for me to find a friendship connection because they don't like themselves. They deserve help too. People with disabilities deserve sex. People with mental illness deserve sex. We all deserve sex, and BDSM and kink and that whole spectrum. And so for me, I need to take care of the part of me that interacts with the unblocked part of the person who is coming to me. Because that's just difficult because it's painful that they are carrying these blocks. So it's not all luxury and glamour and ease and, having someone kiss my feet. Sometimes the person is really in pain. But I see my role in a service role at that point. I'm talking about mental pain, that they don't like themselves. People of different genders come to me, and sometimes they don't even realize that they're transgender. But the things that they're saying and the ways that they're acting, I'm like, you're trans. And like, that's awesome. Love you for trans, but they're not there yet. They're not even there. I had a young person come to me and they wanted to be put in my lingerie and dressed up in my clothes. He's a man, a cisgender man. And he puts on my clothes and he looks in the mirror and he sees himself. Now, maybe he sees himself as a woman in that moment. Maybe she sees herself as a woman. And up until then, she never did. So this is tough. This is tough stuff. And with that particular person, I was like, wow, look at you. You look amazing. Your body is gorgeous. And that's naturally me. And also, but in my role of their dom, oh, you are amazing. This is great. I love it when you wear this lingerie for me. You look so incredible. You're beautiful. You're amazing. And that person said no one had ever told them they were attractive their whole life until that moment. That's tough stuff. So prepare yourself when you're in the nurturing spaces, because some of these things are hard and rough and dark and blocked. in addition to, a lot of it can also be really fun, luxurious, W Barcelona resort, fancy restaurants, shows, shoe shopping. So it's both and everybody's different. Everyone's coming at it differently. So I try not to make so many assumptions. I just know that they like me for some reason. And what I usually actually try to ask them right away, like, why did you pick me? Why are you coming at me? Yeah. What is it about me? So that I can try to like play into that. And sometimes it's because I'm older, sometimes because I'm younger, because sometimes I really like American. Somehow there must be a bunch of porn out there. If somebody knows it, they can send it to me that says that American dominatrixes are meaner. I get this one a lot. Meaner than who?
If someone, like is curious about kink, but uncertain or afraid, where do you suggest them to start?
Yeah, first of all, start reading, not porn, not ChatGPT. The Ethical Slut is where a lot of us start. There are meetups. Almost every major city has a meetup, which are just like meetup over drinks. There's no play, you're not jumping into the dungeon right away. What's good about the meetup is you can go without being pressured to, your own pressure to play. It's just a drink, it's just a pizza, it's just something like that. And then you get to remember that everyone's just a real person, right? So much of porn and so much of the fantasy kind of separates. We're just humans doing human stuff. And so I think it's great to go to these meetups and just remember that everyone's awkward and everyone's like, what am I doing? And then the other thing I would say is, this is a harsh one, what I'm about to say. We're not perfect in the kink world. We are just like every other community, and we are also, some of us are not well. So make sure that when you're asking for your first set of play, the person that you're asking to play with is a healthy person. And you'll know that by talking, communicating. You don't have to jump right in. Don't do anything you don't want to do, ever. Ever, ever, ever. And that goes for all sexuality, all kink, all everything. No is a full sentence. Yeah. Get up and walk away. If something's going on in BDSM or any sexual scene that you don't like, get up and walk away. It's so hard. The human brain is really tough. We want to acquiesce, we want to please. Yeah. I would just stop, full stop, up and out. And if you really like the scene and you really, really like the person, you can come back the next day. Right. Yeah. The other thing is sobriety. So many of our spaces involve alcohol and drugs. Please, please maintain your sobriety. It's when we get into those scenarios that we end up breaking our agreements with ourselves. Yeah. Because we've had a little too much to drink and we think it's like greasing the wheels, and the next thing we know, we got hit too hard. Mm-hmm. And we were drunk and we didn't know that we were getting hit that hard. But the next day we wake up and we're like, oh my gosh. So alcohol, drugs, it's very prevalent in our scene. I don't love it. I'm also not going to tell you not to do it. I'm just saying at the beginning. Sober sex, sober play, try that first. So read books, talk to people, hire professionals. You're free to go up to my website. I have a whole lot. I'm building out my resources. I will happily point you to more resources. Yeah. Let's make it healthy and fun.
Yeah. I think the most fundamental bottom line is the health and the safety. Regardless what kind of practice we're doing.
Yeah, health and safety, right? That's the other thing. Be prepared to talk about STIs, bring condoms, bring dental dams, don't touch, bring gloves. I mean, so much of it that we somehow in our society, again, we're still not talking enough about it. And I'm very concerned about young people who are not using protection. Of course, pregnancy, but also STIs.
Yes. Now, as a parent myself, I also wonder, how I want to approach my child in the future regarding this, because we cannot just pretend it doesn't exist, and in order to avoid the awkwardness, because that would put them in an even more vulnerable position.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say, and that when we pretend like it's not happening, boom, porn becomes the educator. Incels, violence, and as a woman, I want to know what my body does. I want to be strong. I want to know how to say no.
This is an important topic for both men and women, but particularly for women, considering the relatively vulnerable situation women are in the society.
And also LGBTQ plus people. We have the highest numbers of sexual violence perpetrated on us as young people. So we got to take care of all of us. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is toxic for everyone.
In different ways.
In different ways.
What is the one myth about BDSM that you would love to dismantle for good? And one truth you wish more people could embody?
The myth is that somehow BDSM and kink and fetish belongs in a dungeon, that it's somehow taboo, that it's somehow unhealthy. I would like to unlock that dungeon and move us into the penthouse, because the world I live in with BDSM practitioners, we're healthy, we're happy, we're having great connected relationships. I am best friends with the people I am playing with. BDSM practitioners have lifted me up from pain and self-hatred into this goddess life that you see. My confidence, money, I'm getting money for it, which helps take care of me. So we don't belong over there. We belong center stage. And then that leads me to the center stage I'm taking here in Vienna as part of TED Talks, is that BDSM is a healing modality. And we in the community, we know this, we talk about it all the time. We talk about trauma-informed kink. We talk about how to take care of each other in our scenes, how to transform our pain into power, how to transmute our shame into power. It's phenomenal, y'all. So take your sexual energy, your sexual fantasies about BDSM. Maybe you read 50 Shades, maybe you read my book, Goddess Gold, A Dom's First Love, and you were like, oh, this is phenomenal, this is so fun. Yes, get juicy, have fun with it, because it is healing. I love BDSM in connection with consciousness work, with traditional therapy. And I love how being our best sexual selves just makes us have a happier, more pleasurable, more joyous society, which I think is feminist, I think is for everyone.